All right, we got a lot of emails like this one from Dimitri.
Hi, Dimitri.
Who says, "Thank you, Steve, for stopping by RAD Radio. You have been missed. It has been way too long. Steve Mikkelson from Mixpix.com is here. How are you, Steve?"
I am doing wonderful, thank you.
I forgot your theme music. The two things have to go hand in hand. Steve Mikkelson from Mixpix. First of all, everybody loves you so much, and we haven't talked to you in a while. How are you? How's the family?
Doing great, no complaints. Family is doing well.
The grandkids are good.
Grandkids are wonderful. My granddaughter turned 2 just a couple of weeks ago.
What? She was just born.
Yes, and it's awesome. My daughter and her husband were down to visit me, and my granddaughter wanted something. And I'm like, yeah.
Of course.
And my daughter's like, no. And she kept going to me. And I said, I told you I'm never going to discipline my grandchildren.
That's
and
right.
I'm never going to say no.
Exactly.
So you need to either stop her or she's going to get what she's asking for.
Exactly.
Are you adopting? Can I be your grandson?
And you survived the Las Vegas summer and the heat and everything?
Yeah, the heat doesn't really bother me. I couldn't live in Las Vegas if I didn't have a pool. But, it gets hot. You just jump in the pool. It cools you off for a while. So, you go in the pool a couple of times a day. But I don't miss the snow. I don't miss the scraping the windows, shoveling snow that you get in Reno. I've had that my whole life. So it's nice. Everybody talks about Las Vegas and the heat. But when you get out of the summer months, it's really actually nice. And, October, November, February,
It gets
March.
cold.
It doesn't get that cold.
For me, I've had moments where it's felt cold and I've had a sweater on.
And not disagreeing, but you can actually golf year round. In Reno, you're kind of playing from Memorial Day to Labor Day. You can go farther into it, but in Las Vegas, you're golfing in December or January, and you can play year round.
The appeal of year-round golf in Las Vegas really gets Dawn. That's very excited to her. And obviously, you weren't anywhere near all of the flooding from the flash floods this summer.
Yeah.
No, which is crazy because when it rains in Las Vegas, it usually rains over towards the Henderson area. So you're looking at the southeast. I live in the northwest. So I just sit in the backyard and I look at the lightning and the thunderstorms and see it's rain out everywhere else, and we're not getting anywhere I live.
So we were talking in the break room before we came on, and you and I are like a couple of kids because football's back. And it started last night. And in fact, we got an email here from Trevor. Says, "Welcome back, Steve Mikkelson. We missed you dearly.
No.
How about that Bills team? Granted, the Rams played terrible, but the Bills seem legit." That was quite a game. The Rams did not show up.
No, they did not. And the Bills probably have the most talent in the NFL. They're such a really strong team. Everything I had read and heard out of the Rams camp, though, was outside of Matthew Stafford, which they say was overblown with the bad elbow. The Rams had a really good, training camp and all that, and they were ready to go. Didn't show last night, and that's kind of. I had the Rams last night.
Everybody did except me.
Yeah,
So it was it because when I saw your pick, I was like, why would Steve? Because I was basing it almost entirely on the Matthew Stafford reporting, but you had heard, it's not that bad. His arm's okay.
Correct,
Okay.
And it had me worried at the beginning of training camp when I saw that, with the Rams, and. But as it went on, they're like, look, this is overblown. It's really not that big of a deal. They had a great camp, but the Bills showed up. They were pressuring Stafford up the middle. Von Miller, really good. At the time they signed, and I'm like, this is a lot of money for a guy who's this old. But then I sat there and watched it, and I'm like, man, you add a ferocious pass rush to this Bills defense, they don't have any weaknesses. This is a strong, strong team.
Did Miller finish with 2 sacks? Because that's when I stopped paying attention for the most part. Which is ridiculous. What a great start to his season.
No kidding.
Okay, so a lot of people want to talk about this. We got a bunch of emails on this. This one's from Matthew.
Hi, Matthew.
Says, I wanted to get Steve's take on the 2 propositions involving sports betting in California on the ballot in November. Prop 26, which would legalize in-person betting at casinos and racetracks, and Prop 27, which would legalize online sports betting. At the core, it's a battle between the kings of online betting, like FanDuel, and the tribes, who don't want to see out-of-state companies interrupting their operations. I'm leaning towards voting yes on both, but if one of them at least passes, we can finally bet on sports in California. Have you looked into this, Steve? Do you know if can both of them pass and go into effect, or do they cancel?
Do you know? Believe both can pass, and then they would go into effect.
And that would be like Nevada then. Then all betting then.
Yes, which it's kind of a shame, because when I sat and really tried to research both propositions, and there was like 4 that were out there. These were the only 2 that made it on the ballot. And you just get into looking at this, and it's really about the lobbyists. It's not necessarily what's best for California for bet. It's great if California gets legalized sports wagering. I believe they need it. But you look at it, and Prop 26 is about, it's going to go into the tribal casinos. It's not going to have mobile. Everybody knows the wagering is done on the mobile now, but they want to make sure that everyone has to go to the tribal casinos and the racetracks. Rumor has it that this is going to kill the card rooms in California, because this is going to force everyone into the tribal casinos, the race books, etc., and the card rooms will disappear. And again, no mobile, which is what everyone wants.
And the reason the casinos want that, right, is because you're going to have a drink or you're going to gamble a little bit while you're physically in there.
Correct.
And they obviously don't want online betting where we can all sit around and just do it from our couch.
And with that, the tribals control everything.
Right.
I mean, for the most part, it's like, look, you got to be a tribal casino to have a sports book. So not only do they dominate the business, but they control to ensure that nobody comes in to compete with them or take anything away. So,
and the emailer is right. They are wildly powerful in the state of California. And we'll get to the 27 here in a second, but all that money is coming from what he said, right? The big onliners, MGM and FanDuel. And that's very influential as well.
I'm not a gambler, so this might be a duh. But are card rooms like where you're playing poker or whatever?
Yes.
Okay, so why would those go away, right? Because that's a different betting. I mean, you're playing poker, card games.
yes,
right?
but you're pretty much making the racetracks and the tribal casinos kind of full-blown casinos. So you're going to end up with the card rooms. They're going to put in poker rooms probably in the tribal casinos.
I get you.
And,
okay, I didn't know they didn't.
Yes,
I thought they already had that.
And the card rooms can't do anything else.
Okay,
So it's kind of like they're going to go away.
Whoa,
And a lot of
shoot.
hardcore gamblers are just that. So it's like if I can go one place and do everything.
Okay, I thought they already had that. See, what do I know?
Well, and one of the things, and like what Steve's referring to, is that sports betting hasn't been legal in California, and so there hasn't been this swell of, oh my God, we want to bet on sports.
So if then you bring those rooms in, blah
Yep.
blah, you got everybody there. Yeah.
So then 27 is the online one, right?
Correct, and it's online only. There is no retail, so you cannot walk into a shop, place a bet or anything. Everything is done on the mobile. But the way they've wrote it up is solely for the Kings, and where I'm saying the FanDuel, the DraftKings,
Not the Sacramento
MGM,
basketball team. Yeah.
because part of the requirements is you must be licensed in at least 10 states. So that's going to take away the smaller books. And if there is another part that says you can be licensed in 5 states, but you have to own at least 12 casinos. So really what they're doing is we're going to have a monopoly. It's going to be the biggest, those type, and there's going to be no competition. And the sad part is when you sit as a bettor and you look at the FanDuel, the DraftKings, the MGM, they don't have a very competitive pre-market product. And what I'm saying there is they use like a 20-cent baseball line. The Atlantis uses an 8-cent baseball line. So you're laying minus 104 to minus 104, where if you go to some of these other places, you're minus 110 to minus 110.
Can you believe that, Don?
So when you look at that, in essence, they're blatantly robbing the customer, and they're setting it up so that no one can compete with them. So you either have to take a really bad product or you just don't have to bet sports. And then you add in, they're looking at a 10% tax rate, which the juice is the 10%. 11 to 110, 11 to 110. I take 21 from this person, and I pay this person 20. Well, I just made my 10%. But if that's going to the state, now you're going to be looking at, instead of minus 110 both sides, you're going to be looking at possibly minus 120 on both sides. And again, it brings a bad product which to me is just going to look. My bookie's been giving me better odds from the get-go or the offshores. So, yes, I want to see legalized sports wagering in California. I just think both propositions are not what's best for the people.
So a couple things there. First of all, it's always great to watch somebody who are great at their craft and hear Steve just rattle off those numbers that I know went way over so many people's heads.
It's so great. I like to be in a casino.
And another
I just don't know.
another news flash there. Yes, Steve is correct. Believe it or not, people that do live in California are betting on sports. They're just doing it with bookies and the offshore stuff.
So would bookies go away? Or are there always bookies?
There's always going to be bookies because bookies allow you to bet on credit. And that's the big part. You can chase it. You settle up on Mondays or Tuesdays or whatever
or you get your arm
it is
broke.
after.
Kind of
correct. So bookies will always be around. But if your bookie offers a much better product, why are you really going to bet into a product? And it's great. Again, I want to see sports wagering in California. I really do. But as you educate the bettor and they understand that these places are really just there to entirely rip you off with the product they're offering, and I can go almost anywhere else and get a better product, you know, at a certain point, you're going to once you become educated, you're going to realize it, and then you're going to go back to betting with your bookie or whoever.
And the way Steve described the tool, the tribes and the big conglomerate onliners, this goes back to what we talk about all the time on the air. The answer to all of your questions is money. Money, control, and power, and the people that are already in power are not going to relinquish it, and that's what's going on. And by the way, California, leave it to California in its current state, no pun intended, to try to get with the times and write two horrible propositions in order, because the American Gaming Association says 46.5 million Americans will bet on NFL games in one way or another this season. That's 1 out of 5 Americans who are old enough to gamble.
Damn.
It's also a new record. Sports betting is currently legal in 36 states and Washington, D.C.
Wow.
I mean, it's like, you know, Alabama waiting to make interracial marriage legal until 2000. What is California doing here?
And usually we lead the way with stuff.
And Americans have legally wagered this year already, so no NFL yet, 7 months in, $50.4 billion have been gambled on sports betting, just on sports betting.
Wow.
Like, we love to gamble in this country.
And that's legal.
That's
sports
right.
betting.
Right.
We're not even getting into everything that's done with bookies, offshores,
So
and
true.
in California where it's not even legal.
It's like when they tell you there's 300 million guns in America. It's like, those are the ones they know of.
Yeah,
It's
please.
just ridiculous. Okay, getting a few emails like this one. Heather says, yay, fall, yay, football.
I know, it's exactly what Steve's voice says to me. It's fall.
But most of all, yay, Steve. It's so good to hear him and all the football talk again. Don says, OMG, I love this time of year. Steve talking about football is so soothing. So talking about online betting or in-house betting or whatever happens brings us back to Mix Picks, MIKKS.com. Where are we at with MixPicks.com, which is where you offer up your expertise of, well, how long did you manage sports bets for the 400 years?
I started in May of '87.
Dang.
So I have been doing this a long time.
yeah, that's
I was
amazing.
a junior in high school then.
I wasn't born.
Same.
I had turned 21 and I was going to college at San Diego State, and I thought it'd be cool. I'm 21 now.
Ooh, yeah.
It's summer. Let's go get a job in Reno because I'd lived in Reno a couple of years, and let's get a job getting paid to watch baseball games. So I came up for a summer job, and at the end of the summer they promoted me. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just transfer up to UNR, and I'll go to class there. And I was going to UNR, and then they made me the manager. And I'm like, okay, it was in like November. And I'm like, you know, I'm still going to school. Can I just have like 3 weeks left. And they said, you can either be the manager or you can go to school. It is your choice. You make your decision. And I have not set foot in a classroom since.
And
It worked out for you.
The decade
Yes, it
of
did.
your 20s is a great time to be in Reno.
Yeah,
That's when
oh
we
my
were there
gosh.
physically.
Yeah.
So that brings us then to back to mixpicks.com. We're now doing it the other side.
Yes. And we have opened it up. It's going to be free
Whoa.
to. Sorry, I may have jumped the gun there.
No.
Uh,
That was the reaction by so many people that are like, huh? What?
Yeah,
What?
no.
Free? The word free?
We're going to go free until California has legalized sports wagering.
It's like our boycott.
I'm really hoping that it will be by next football season, because I believe that everyone wants it. It is where it's going. I'm just disappointed that these are the two choices, because I think there should be the free enterprise. It should be a competitive market to bring the best product possible to the people, and I just believe it needs to be to the people. And unfortunately, I look at this and it goes into the lobbies, and as you said, those with the money control it and are making it go to them, so they stay in power and they control everything. It's better than nothing. It's a shame, because it's not what California deserves.
So whether you're in Nevada, northern Nevada, and you're heading over to the casinos to do parlays or whatever, or you're doing it online, or you're in California using your bookie, you can just go to mixpicks.com anytime and get Steve's daily picks and all of his expertise to help you figure out the picks. And it's everything. I mean, we really focus on football because it's the biggest thing for America and for our audience. But you do all the sports, which it's a busy time, a really busy time coming up, and you just pick basically what grabs you, right? What you think, okay, this is where I'm leaning.
Correct. And there will be days that there are no picks. It's just one of those, hey, you know what? I don't really like anything. I'm not going to recommend anything that I wouldn't recommend to you, Rob. Hey, look, this is what I think you need to take a look at. And then it's on you, do you want to play it or not? And, but we do cover everything. We hit the NHL, we hit the NBA, baseball, football. On occasion, we've had some WNBA bets. We've had Canadian football. So it's just whatever kind of strikes me as, I think there's an advantage in this play.
We were talking earlier this morning. You've got your WNBA team in Las Vegas is in the finals.
Las Vegas Aces, yes, a very good team.
You moved there at a really good time for sports too, not just betting, but you got there. We got the Golden Knights, the hockey team that had an amazing season, their first season that you were there, and now you've got the WNBA, and of course the Raiders are there now.
Yes, and there is the Summer League basketball, which is really popular, and
you may have the A's soon for baseball.
I'm hoping they are. I just haven't figured out how they're fully going to do it, because they run into the problem if they put it on the Strip, they somewhat alienate the locals, but they get all the tourists. But are the tourists really going to fill a 162 game schedule on Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night?
And that's why it's different than football.
Correct. Where football, it's on the weekends. The casinos love it. But if they go out to, say, Henderson, or they go to Summerlin or something like that, you'll get the locals. But is the local market strong enough to support them for 162 games without being able to rely heavily on the tourists? So it's kind of like, where do you really build the ballpark if you go that route? And man, you got to make it a dome. It's so hot.
Yeah.
I was going to say, speaking of alienation, what happened to the 51s, and can they play where they played?
Well, they are the Aviators now.
Oh.
And that's what the location I was hoping for. But they've built a big building right kind of across the street. It's on the same side of the street. That used to be the parking lot. Now it's a big office building. So I'm not sure how much they can expand that stadium to make it big enough to be a Major League Baseball ready stadium.
Well, how's the fan base locally with the Knights out there? I know they've got a pretty strong fan base right now. Is that holding up well with the locals? And will that fan base also jump over to the Oakland A's if they do go to Las Vegas?
That fan base is incredible. I mean, they have one of the highest ticket prices in the market for the NHL, and they sell out pretty much every single game. The fans and the people in Las Vegas have welcomed the Golden Knights. They have dominated the city, and the Raiders have gotten there, but it's a little bit different because in hockey, like for instance, I'm a Red Wings fan, but I've really embraced the Golden Knights, and so I watch, I'd call them 1 and 1A type of thing now, but I watch a lot more Golden Knight games and cheer a lot more for them, even though the Red Wings are my favorite team. When you get into football, there is such loyalty. Like, I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Yes, you will see me wearing a Las Vegas Raiders t-shirt, which prior to this, I have never worn another team's shirt, but I will wear it, but it's just not the same. There's such a bond to your team in the NFL that it's tough for people. I've been a Rams fan for my whole life. How can I now suddenly start rooting for the Raiders?
I think it's the young kids that are going to games with their parents now will have it be my team is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
There almost needs to be a little bit of that indoctrination of it, because it's not like Golden Knights, because they came there about a year or two before I left, and it really was like incredible. And I didn't necessarily love where I grew up, but it was a special time because it was the people were so starved for it, and like they needed it so bad, and it was just such a good rallying point for the city. And I think that the more and more sports that get there, the better it is, because it just gives more access to people to be able to say, this is my city, I feel pride here, and these are the ways I represent it.
And I agree with that, and building on it, the point that you were making there, and I agree 100%. But another factor is the Golden Knights were a startup.
Yeah.
There were no preconceived, I hate the Raiders, going back to Kenny Stabler or anything like that. The Golden Knights were a startup, which really allowed everyone to fully back it. And then as the kids are growing up, I mean, it's just going to continue where there are X amount of people who just, I hate the Raiders because of something in the past.
I mean, Vegas is I love it. It's such a great city. Just visiting it for a million years when all the nieces were growing up. That, I mean, it's like the one thing that was missing. It's like sports, and now you've just got like the perfect city. It's like everything is there for you to do.
It's an embarrassment of riches. You have any questions for Steve Mikkelson? RAD@RADRadio.com. I know, Steve, that you have there's licensing issues and there's the gambling control board and things that you may or may not be able to answer. But Lisa wrote in because we were talking about online betting and said, Steve, what's the best online gambling app? Can you answer that question? Or do you have an opinion?
Well, I would say, first of all, you need to check your jurisdiction to find out what is legal in your area. Now, once you've gotten into your area, they're all pretty good. One of the things you need to do if you're shopping is compare prices when you're looking at a mobile. Just compare prices. When you look at money lines for baseball, are they minus 105, minus 105, or are they minus 110, minus 110?
What's worse?
The one is you got to put up $1.05 to win $1. The other one, you got to put up $1.10 to win $1. So it's kind of like going to your grocery store. If you go to the grocery store, and this grocery store, it's $7 for a gallon of milk, and the other one is $5 for a gallon of milk, you kind of get the idea that, look, the product's going to be a little cheaper. And if you start shopping and everything you see is cheaper at the one, then the other one's really kind of there to take advantage of you for the convenience or the name or something like that. It's the same with everything, and mobile apps fall into that as well.
All right, let's get back to sports, and we will get back to football. Baseball, we're getting close to the postseason. First of all, Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees has 55 home runs. Is he going to break the Yankee record? And then we get into the controversy over what is the actual season record. But what a season he's having, and he refused to sign a 7-year, $213 million contract before the start of the season, betting on himself. He's going out. He's having an MVP season. I mean, he's going to break the bank after this year. And so, what about Aaron Judge?
I think he's having a phenomenal season. The Yankees are not where they're at without him. And everyone's talking Shohei Ohtani having a great year. 33 homers. He pitches and he hits. And you hear the people on TV saying, well, until Aaron Judge can go out and win 10 games as a pitcher, it's going to be Shohei Ohtani's, MVP.
And he's on a terrible team, Ohtani
But
is.
They're not in contention. Yeah. And I know you get into this, and I believed in the metrics and the various things, whip, etc. I think is very important. I just think we've swung too far into that when I can be a 500 pitcher, but because my whip is under 1 and I strike out 14 guys per 9 innings on a really bad team that never wins, I can win the MVP. Where if you have Aaron Judge and you take him off this Yankee team, especially now because they're not playing well at all, this team isn't even in the playoffs. They're not even in contention. So, there's that. Is it the most valuable player, or is it the most valuable player on the best team.
Well, this is the thing.
I think you need to take all of it into consideration, not just the numbers.
And you and I are old, and so we've talked about this before. How can you be valuable to a last place team? You're not valuable. And I know it's a team sport and all that, but when you are in contention, as the Yankees are, and you're having this phenomenal year, do you think Aaron Judge will hit over 61 home runs? Start with the Maris number.
Yes, I do.
Do you think he'll get to 70?
No.
Not enough time?
I think he's going to be in that 63, 64, which to me falls into I'm kind of old school. I throw out the steroid era, and to me, if he gets there, but there isn't the pressure, and this is the part that you get into the MVP, etc., and you get into this argument. There isn't the pressure when you're an Aaron Judge and you're trying to hang on to first place, and you are playing. Every game counts. Every at bat counts. You're in a slump. You're pressing. You're Shohei Ohtani. You're 30 games out of first place. There's no pressure. It doesn't mean anything. You're relaxed. You don't have the media all over you. Hey, what's wrong with the Yankees? What's wrong with the Yankees? So there's so many differences there. You get into Roger Maris and his 61 homers. Like I said, his hair was falling out. There was so much pressure on him that he
God, that's
lost
awful.
his hair
Wow.
from the stress.
Oh.
And that's where, with the steroid era in moving it up to 73, he can get to 63, 64, and is not going to face the pressure as if the home run record was 61.
So then there's Albert Pujols, who has said over and over and over again, this is his last season, but he is oh so close to getting to the big number of 700 career home runs. And they keep asking the question, what if the season ends and you're at 699? Because baseball's a number thing. If you're a fan, it's all about the numbers. 61, 714, etc. So if he swears he won't, but if Pujols gets to 699, he can't retire. Can he come back and just sign a contract that goes until I hit my next home run?
I think it'll be like an Ichiro. Hey, look, we're going to play Seattle in Japan. We're going to come out of retirement type of thing.
Okay.
We're going to play the series. I think he's got to play. He's got to get the 700. I think it means the world to him. And as a sports fan, in the era that we've grown up with the steroids, to get Pujols to 700 would be phenomenal.
Because there is no taint on him.
No. He was such a dominant player for so many years. You want to see the 700.
So, like, if he ended at 699, he couldn't just come back next season, hit one, and then be like, I'm out.
Sure,
it has
could.
to be written in a contract or something.
He could do that. He just has to come back and they do have to agree, pay him. There's a union and all that other boring stuff. So who do you like for World Series?
The Dodgers.
Yeah, I know.
Gosh, as much as I don't want to say it,
Again.
they're just so good. You look at that pitching depth, and I mean Walker Buehler's out, and they just keep getting it done. I mean Gonsolin, here's a guy who wasn't even supposed to be in the rotation, and he's had a phenomenal year, and it's hard to count out the Dodgers, and I really thought the Yankees, but the Yankees starting staff got really injured, and they haven't been helped, and this slump is crazy. I was never fully sold on the Astros.
The cheating
but-
Astros?
Oh, I was just going to ask where they're at.
But I think you got to put the Astros there. A dark horse shocker team to me is the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, hopefully they don't make the playoffs, but this team's got some great young talent. Their bullpen has been one of the best in baseball, which then has helped their starting staff, which was awful for the last several years. And this Orioles team is actually a lot of fun to watch.
And of course, the Dodgers want the Astros to get to the World Series because they will go to the World Series to try to beat the Astros out of vengeance for as many years as the Astros can compete.
And then what happens when the Astros win in Game 7 again?
They have to find out what they did to cheat that time.
And correct, they got to find out how they cheated. There had to be a way.
No, they're not forever cheaters.
Let's jump back to football. Alabama, we'll do college real quick. The Alabama Crimson Tide is one of the biggest preseason college football national title favorites in 20 years. In fact, it's since 2001, only USC in 05 and Alabama in 18 had better preseason championship odds. Is that right? Is that legit? Should they be that highly favored?
Yeah, they are that good. There isn't a weakness on this team. You watch them play, and they're a monster. They really are that good. My hesitation, Georgia is an elite team too. But being they won it last year, it's tough to repeat. And I'm just not sold that they are as good. They had, I mean, man, it seemed like they had like 9 guys on that defense drafted in the first round. And, you know, to expect the defense to come back and play as dominant as they did last year. So that's where you give a little bit more. I don't think anyone can hang with Alabama. Ohio State's a really good team, you know, but we watched Ohio State. They're not at that caliber. To me, it's Alabama. Georgia's just a little bit behind them. And then there's that next tier when you get into the Ohio States, etc. You know, a lot of USC fans have a lot of hopes, but until their defense can figure out how to tackle people, I can't put USC anywhere close, you know, to that. But it's Alabama's to lose.
Can I just make one correction? It's the Ohio State, if you remember.
Oh, I thought that was a different school.
Being a Michigan fan, I think I really kind of struggle. I'm not at the Ohio State.
Is Michigan where that one of the coaches from the Niners went?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Harbaugh went there. It's kind of like, you
Always
know,
with the hard-hitting questions, Don.
kind of like the U. To me, it's Miami, Florida. I just can't get the U. I'm not there.
So the thing everybody wants to talk to you and with you about, including me, is the 49ers. So we got a few different things here. Trey Lance is going to be the starter, the number 1 draft pick of a couple years ago, and or last year. And he played, 18 total college games or something like that. And Jimmy Garoppolo, who took the Niners to a Super Bowl and to the NFC Championship last year and almost came back and won, is now the backup after a really weird offseason.
That's so mean.
Garoppolo was going to be traded. Oh, wait, now he's having arm surgery while all the trades of quarterbacks are happening, and the market dries up. And then there's a couple teams that maybe still need a quarterback. Okay, we're going to re-sign and restructure, rather, Garoppolo's contract and keep him around as the backup to Trey Lance. Brett Favre, Hall of Fame quarterback, says the 49ers are absolutely crazy for starting Trey Lance instead of Jimmy Garoppolo. Other people say, look, the team is built to win, and Trey Lance doesn't have to be the savior. He just has to be a game manager. And then Joe Staley, who spent his entire 13-year career with the San Francisco 49ers, says he is concerned that if Trey Lance goes out there and doesn't perform perfectly, which he won't because he's a rookie, the guys in the locker room all of a sudden are going to be like, hey, we have a team that's built right now to win. We have a quarterback that's taken us there the last few years. What are we doing here? It's a mess either way, is it? Or am I, as a Niner fan, supposed to be like, this is great. It's the best of both worlds.
Well, if you take it's the best of both worlds, I just think you're looking through rose-colored glasses. You have the best backup in the league in Jimmy Garoppolo. There's nobody who's going to question that. I think it's a mess. They needed to, like with the Patriots, just cut Cam Newton, just let him go so there's no pressure. So you're Trey Lance, and he might become really good, but he is a rookie. I believe the 49ers have arguably the second most talent on their roster behind the Buffalo Bills in the NFL. They are built to win. They are built to win right now.
Why don't they?
They don't have that window to wait 3-4 years and let him develop. He has to start off hot. I mean, their first 2 games, they got to win. They got the Bears and they got the Seahawks. He's got to be 2-0.
Yeah, they have to win those.
But then you hit their next 2 games, which are tough. But then he gets, after that, he gets Carolina and at the Falcons. So he's got to be 4-2, 5-1, or 6-0, and he's still going to hear the footsteps, because after that, then they hit their tough part. They get KC, they get at the Rams, they get the Chargers, they get the Cardinals, they get the Saints, they get the Dolphins, and they got the Buccaneers. The problem with 2 quarterbacks is, as soon as he has a bad game, he throws a pick 6. Hey, put in Jimmy G. And that, to me, is, we discussed this last year, why you have to let Jimmy G go. I like Jimmy G, but then you get into, if they're not winning, Shanahan is 8-28 at home without Jimmy G at quarterback. When you look at that, and what happens if he has a bad game and say the defense doesn't play great and they go and lose? So instead of being 2-0, they're 1-1. Or if they lose the first week to the Bears.
Oh, come on.
I mean, he's going to hear the footsteps. It isn't going to go away. He can start off 6-0, and then, oh, no, they lose 2 in a row, and everyone's going to be calling for Jimmy Garoppolo to go in. Jimmy G's problem is he just can't stay healthy. I think he's a really good quarterback. I was hoping the Lions would give up like a 7th-round draft pick and go get him and give him an incentive contract. Hey, look, come here, do this, play this many games, put up these numbers, and you will get paid. But, man, to bring him back. And I understand what they did because there was no market for him. They didn't want to just cut him and let him go because, then what are we going to have as our backup? Where if we have Jimmy G and Trey Lance gets hurt, we have the best backup. I understand that part. What a headache.
Well, and the reporting has been all over the place during camp because there are reports from insiders, from outsiders, from reporters that Trey Lance looks amazing. He's a natural-born leader. He's firing on all cylinders. And then there's reports he's all over the place. He can't. Yeah, he's playing against one of the best defenses in the league, but he's getting intercepted. Blah blah. We don't even know what's going on. But there was a report from a pretty reliable source that said it was Trey Lance's camp performance that led Shanahan to go, we're going to keep Jimmy G because I'm not sold. What about the theory of they're just going to trade Jimmy G as soon as a quarterback gets hurt? Because a quarterback always gets hurt, and everybody's going to call the 49ers once they lose their quarterback in the first 4 weeks.
Okay, so play that scenario out. So it's a top team, and we need to compete. Well, Dak Prescott goes down. What do you do with Jimmy G next year? To get Jimmy G, are you trading a 7th-round draft pick? And then you're creating an issue down the road. If you're a bad team and you are, the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff goes down, you know what? We need to see some young kids. Jimmy G's probably not the answer because we're not going to compete for a while. So are you really going to go out and go get him? So I'm not sure what the market really will be for Jimmy G. And going to Trey Lance, Josh Allen is right now arguably one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the league, you could say.
Buffalo quarterback.
Okay.
But he wasn't that good his first year at all.
Right.
He struggled in his second year. It takes a little bit of time to develop in that, to be able to read the defense, to do what Tom Brady does so naturally. Just, hey, look, I already know where all the defense is going to go. Before I get the ball hiked to me, I already know where my guy's going. I know how the defense is going to play it. And so I know where I need to go with the ball. That comes with repetition and playing and passing. And, it comes with time. Trey Lance isn't going to be there. He's going to make mistakes. Can the 49ers afford it?
What's the Troy Aikman story? He went 1-15 his first season.
Yeah, he went 1-15
damn.
the first season.
And then won the Super Bowl. Three of them.
Right. You look at Peyton
right after
Manning,
that?
and Peyton Manning's first year, I think he set a record for most interceptions.
Oh, shit.
by a rookie quarterback because it's the growing pains. They're both top 25 in history, but you're not that good as a rookie. And the Niners, to me, are built to win right now.
So you say they're built to win. You say they're the second most talented team in the NFL. What do you think is going to happen with the 49ers this season?
I'm really hoping they get out to a hot start. I'm hoping Trey Lance stays healthy. I believe they're going to rely heavily on their rushing attack. I think their defense has no holes. I think they're strong at all levels on defense. And let the defense win. Let the running game do enough to let Trey Lance kind of look like Mac Jones did. Look, he's going to take his deep shots because you got to keep the defenses honest, but you're going to do a lot of safe, passes and stuff to set them up for success. If they do that and the defense plays the way I think they will and the running game does, I think he's set up for a lot of success. It's just, hey, look, they're down by 4. It's 2 minutes to go in the game. They get the ball on the 20-yard line. Is he ready to go lead them 80 yards for the touchdown to win? I don't think he's there.
So those are all the things you hope. Sounds to me like you think it's going to be kind of a fuster cluck of a season for the 49ers.
I think they have the pieces there. They have to stay healthy. And I would have let Jimmy G go.